second floor of Joseph Smith's red brick store. This was called the Lodge Room or Assembly Room. The store opened for business January of 1842 with Joseph himself downstairs behind the counter on opening day. He wrote a letter to a friend that day and said, "I love to wait upon the saints and to be a servant to all." Joseph also loved to give his followers credit even if they couldn't pay him back, which is wonderful for the profit of the church, but a problem for a storekeeper who needs to generate a profit. So even before the store opens, Joseph leases it to Willard Richards, but as part of the lease agreement, Joseph was able to maintain an office here on the second floor, which means this big room became the place where the principal business of the city and of the church was being conducted. Day-to-day stuff here too, school for the children, art exhibits, magic shows, rope walking exhibitions, but some really important stuff here as well. This is where the Female Relief Society of Nauvoo was organized, with Emma Smith as first president. They'd find work for the widows and food for the poor. This is where the foundations of endowment rituals, as understood in the Church of Jesus Christ, were introduced for the very first time. Lots of succession-related history here, including Joseph Smith III's blessing and meetings of the Council of 50. This is also where they had the political convention that selected Joseph to be their candidate for United States president. Joseph's presidential platform survives. It's called General Smith's Views, and he lays out in here what he's going to do for you if elected. Among other things, he's going to be rid of slavery by 1850 or sooner. He's going to slash the number of elected officials in Washington, D.C., and slash the salaries of those that remain. Joseph said, "I'll pay them $2 a day. That's more than a farmer makes, and a farmer works an honest day." Joseph's going to throw open prison doors, tell the prisoners to go and sin no more, and then turn those prisons into centers of education. You might be getting a sense as to why Joseph was controversial. Some historians think his death was at least a statewide political conspiracy. I'm not completely convinced, but I think it's interesting that the Times and Seasons, the church newspaper that announces the deaths, uses the headline, "Awful Assassination," which suggests even then that they recognized a political component. After Joseph's death, others tried to run stores downstairs, but soon most of the potential customers are heading across the plains. By the 1860s, the Smith family's Olive Branch, a reorganized Latter-day Saint congregation, is meeting up here on the second floor. And by the 1890s, the Smith boys' church work had taken them away. The building had fallen into disrepair, and it was torn down. We put it back up as part of the celebration of the 150th birthday of the church, so it was open by 1980. As church leaders prepared to head west, some wanted to give little Joseph Smith III gifts to remember them by. And Brigham Young gave little Joseph a pistol. And Joseph's cousin, George A. Smith, gave him a very big Bowie knife, which Joseph thought Emma would appreciate for the kitchen. Apparently, Bowie knives are not kitchen knives, so he traded for a large cherry rolling pin that he gave to his mother. Bishop N.K. Whitney knew about those gifts, the gun and the knife. He called young Joseph in and said, "Son, I want to help you understand that the pen is mightier than the sword. I'm going to give you my writing desk." And he did. It's the one just behind me and to my right. Looking back on that experience, Joseph Smith III reflected that he believed Bishop Whitney's intent was to instill in him a spirit of peace rather than one of war. At any rate, said young Joseph, that was the effect that it had on him.